This is literally the third time I'm trying to record this, and honestly, I really hope this is this because yeah, Gunin, I'm not gonna let the enemy stop me from making this video, even though I'm very nervous and scared. But hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello. My name is Karao Morena and welcome to my channel. This is where we speak all things Christ and we go out there and be the church and spread the word. Please don't feel shy to like, subscribe, hit the notification bells and share so that we can spread the gospel and the good news. So, like I said in my last video, I will be sharing my testimony today, and this is literally like the third time I'm trying to record this. My camera kept dying. Oh guys, I got a phone. I got a phone. I finally got a phone. So I'm recording on my phone right now because the battery on my camera is very, I think, old, so it doesn't really last, and it's been interrupting me. So I'm literally recording this for the third time. But I'm not gonna let that stop me. I'm gonna share this because it has to be shared at some point in life, and that's now. So let's share the word. Um, so I grew up in an abusive household. Um, I grew up in an abusive household where my parents' marriage was very dysfunctional. The abusive part came from my dad. I started seeing all of this happening at the age of 6. That's when I started seeing, good to no man, something's up. But I couldn't fully comprehend what was going on. Not until I think I got to like the age of like probably 10. And that's actually when I experienced my first suicidal thought. And it came as an intrusive thought, actually. I was in the kitchen and I like opened the drawer and I took a knife and I'm like, what would happen if I slit my wrist right now, you know? And it was because like there was a lot going on at home and it felt like death. Death felt so, it felt like something that I was supposed to do. So yeah, that was the first time. That's actually looking back. That's how I can see good to you. This family actually became the enemy's playground, like for real. And I was one of those people that were really played around with, especially because I was a child. So there wasn't really full knowledge on who God is and His Word. So I started experiencing a lot at home. I don't want to really speak about the situations in specific, but I'll be speaking about how they affected me. So from the age of 10 till going like forward, I was constantly in a home that's together, a home that's separated, together, separated, abuse, brokenness, chaos. So a very dysfunctional family. The only time, and within this chaos and brokenness, my mom actually taught us God. So my mom grew up in a Christian household. She grew up in a Christian household, and that's the one thing I can say she did. Like, that's the best thing she could have done for me, was teach me God. So how I ended up getting to know who God is a very long story on its own. Shem, yo, sit back, get your water, get your tea, because it's about to be a long story. So fast forward to when I was 15. So we had just experienced an episode at home, and my mom wasn't around, and in that moment I had to act as protector and not as child. So when I saw that something was about to happen, I had to protect my siblings before I could even protect myself. So I went into protection mode and I told my sisters, like, go upstairs before you see anything you're not supposed to see. And yeah, so I was obviously scared as a child because 15, I'm a child, guys. Like, I'm a child. I was absolutely scared. And then a few days later, it felt as though everyone is acting like nothing happened except for me. I was still thinking about it. I was still going to school. very hurt. People would see me cry at school, like I wasn't focusing, like it was just a mess. And I ended up retaliating to all of those things. Like I was bottling up a lot as I was growing, and at that age I became a ticking time bomb. So I one day came back from school, and my brother could tell that I was like not okay at all. And I just vented to him, and I told him that, you know what, there's nothing normal about this household. Everyone acts like nothing happens. It feels like because there's money, I'm coming in at home, I'm not allowed to feel hurt or affected by any of these things that are happening. I always feel like people make me feel ungrateful as soon as I somehow share that I'm not okay about what's happening. I don't want to be in the situation. I'm always put in a bottle that, and I'm always a child and I don't know what I'm talking about. And then I fought with my sister about something, but I don't know. I forgot what. And my dad shouted at me, but because I had just experienced this thing, I didn't take it as as a discipline thing. I took it as, yo, this man is actually so abusive. Like, hey, like, yo, now I'm just done. And I went to my room and I was crying so hard, yo. I was crying so hard that I really wanted to just like, I sat there and I told God that, God, I want to end my life. And I was like, please forgive me for the sin I'm about to commit. It was no longer a thought now. Now it was planning. And I told God, please forgive me for the sin I'm about to commit. And it was followed up by me saying that, Lord, I used God with his own scripture. But I was like, Lord, in your Bible, you said that after death, in eternal life, you said when we believe in you, in eternal life, there will be no more tears. There'll only be joy. And that's literally what I want right now. I'm tired of feeling this way. I'm tired of always having to feel like I have to be strong for everyone, or I have to grow up when it's necessary for everyone else, but be a child when as soon as I feel things I'm supposed to be feeling, you know. And yeah, I wept and I wept and I wept, yo. And then I was like, I'm gonna wait for everyone to go to bed so that I can, you know. Um, and after that, or I don't remember anything after that. I just went from crying to waking up in the morning and seeing the sunrise. And I was like, excuse me, please, guys. Like, I was such a light sleeper. Like, there was no ways I could have gotten through the night and not woken up when people, like, I'm the type of person, like, when you're outside my yard now and you step on a tree branch, I'll wake up because I heard it. So it just shocks me how, after crying so hard and I wanted to plan, like, I was so, like, I want to get it done. And then all of a sudden I'm waking up in the morning and I was so angry that I didn't do it. And then my mom walked in, and I think that's when she started having a discussion about therapy. And then I was like, wow, therapy, this wasn't even on the table like a day or 2 days back. So I think I saw that as God definitely giving me a way out, not out of the situation, but giving me a way through the situation, to get through the situation. And I grabbed that opportunity with both hands, child. I was like, therapy, let's go, you know. And I think that was coming from that little bit of hope that I still wanted to live. Just that bit of hope, like, hey, that mustard seed of hope, to want to live. That will to live was very tiny. And I grabbed the opportunity with both hands, and I ended up going to therapy, and it helped because I spoke, but I didn't speak about everything. I think there were other things that I was hiding, especially with the suicidal thoughts. I didn't tell her because I didn't want to feel ashamed. And I knew that if I told her that, she was obligated to tell my parents, and that's not where I wanted it to go. And I remember her speaking to my parents. She was like, yeah, she almost got depressed. And I was like, girl, if you knew, Girl, if you knew, I am depressed, but now I feel so much better, and I think that's when I experienced God's love and grace for the very first time. But that was just the beginning. That was literally just the beginning. So fast forward, I even wrote, actually, let me read it out for you. I even wrote um what happened the following year after, therapy and stuff. Um so here I wrote 30th January 2018, new beginnings. You survived 2017, the most sad yet happiest time of your teenage life. This is a reminder that you can be happy even though it feels like you'll never be. Read poetry, draw what you're feeling, listen to music. It's a good distraction. Be kind and love everyone, but most importantly, love God. He is the only one who knows you better than you know yourself. As you grow, let your relationship with Him grow even more. Don't forget to love yourself and put God first, then put yourself after. If you're still waking up in the morning, you have a purpose here. And that's what I wrote. And yeah, good to like, guys, I was happy that time. Yo, guys, listen, that was the first time I felt so happy ever in my life, without having to feel constant depression, anxiety, or always like, yeah, it was nice. It was nice. But like I said, that was literally just the beginning. So fast forward again. Now I encounter my first relationship mid 2018. We were just with children. We got into a relationship 2017, and then yeah, because now this is where it gets you see. So because my dad was emotionally unavailable as a father, and I knew who God was, and at that time He was just my healer, not necessarily my father. I was seeking male validation, and because I had experienced it from my uncles at the time, I was living with my uncles and my grandfather, and they showed me this is how fatherly love was supposed to look like. But I couldn't always have it because I lived away from them. I started to look for it in relationships, and because this was the first relationship I had experienced outside of this dysfunctional household, it felt like everything, child. Like that felt like I'm gonna get married to this man. He doesn't touch me. He doesn't. It was more about what he didn't do more than what he did do. So we ended up breaking up that end of the year, end of 2019. We ended up breaking up, and all of those feelings of feeling worthless, anxiety, depression, not necessarily suicidal, but I started having an identity crisis now, because now I was seeking for validation outside and in a physical form. So yeah, so that happened. 2020, COVID. COVID hits now, and now we're forced to stay at home. Um, my dad comes back and stays home with us. My dad actually worked away, so he was barely home. That's when there was peace in the house. He was barely home. So 2020 forced my dad to come back at home, and him and my mom were not in a good place. So now again, I am the weapon. I'm used as a weapon. And at some point, my mom left, and my dad was on his own wave. Okay, he was on his own wave, and he ended up waking me up in the morning to have a talk with me about what was going on at the house. And I don't even remember what the conversation was about. All I remember was my dad telling me that he'll never have a relationship with me because I'm a girl. And he was like, your mom will have a relationship with you. I'm supposed to have a relationship with your little brother, not you. And I think at that point I had gone crazy. I went back to square one. I went back to how I was feeling in 2017 again. And I think because I was a bit grown up now, it was just far, like it was way worse, because I had also seen how my friends have relationships with their fathers, and people around me had good relationships with their fathers, even though if their fathers weren't good to their moms, they were still good to their daughters, and I didn't have that. So it felt very, yo, it put me in a very dark place, an extremely dark, yeah, it put me in an extremely dark place. And then I remember now it was, we were going into 2021, and I had just got rejected in, like, into getting into university. And I was really, like, when I say I was really depending on university to help me get through this dark time, because I knew that therapy helped then. I really hope that it can help me again, and it was that little bit of hope that if I get into university, I'll leave home and be in my own space and just live my own life away from all of this chaos. And as soon as I got that letter that unfortunately didn't get to school, to the point where my parents now together, they were like, no, you got rejected but your marks are fine, let's go to university and figure this out. I was also acting like, yeah, let's go figure this out, I want to go to school, hara hara. But inside, I was literally, I was dead. Like, my life was over. Like, I was absolutely dead. I remember even on the way to the university, on the freeway, I just looked outside and I was so tempted to just open the door and just throw myself out. That's the point I was at. Like, to me, we were going there for absolutely nothing. We were just going there, just, I was just doing it to make my parents happy. And we got there, and we told them what was going on, and then they gave me one of the lecturer's numbers, or they gave her one of, like, my number. I forgot how it went. And then they called me and they were like, oh, submit your portfolio, because we never asked you to submit a portfolio. Yay! Yay! Did I not switch up? Boy, did I not get home and get everything together, because I was like, I'm getting into this university. There's absolutely no way that I'm not doing this. So I did everything. I submitted, and I ended up getting accepted into university. And I was like, I'm leaving this house. Listen, I was over the moon, only for my dad to come tell me that, listen, you're gonna be traveling to school. I was like, yo, I'm gonna be what? Excuse me? Come again? I'm gonna be what? He said, yeah, you're gonna be traveling to school. There's absolutely no reason for you to be living at Riz. And I went to my mom and I cried to her, and I was like, there's no ways, Mama. I'm not living here. I was like, Mama, I'm not living here. And then my grandfather called and he was like, so did you get accepted to university? And I was like, yeah. I told him what happened and everything. And he was like, okay, so you're gonna be living at Riz. Like, do you need registration money or deposit? Like, what do you need? I'll give it to you. And I was like, oh no, Daddy said that I have to live at home. My grandfather said, not on my watch. Not on my watch. And then I went to my parents and I was like, yeah, Rahulu said that I have to live at Rez, and they couldn't fight it. So I ended up going to Rez. And honestly, I honestly think that was God. That was no coincidence, guys. For my grandfather to call and say that you're going to live at Rez, it wasn't even a question. He said you're going to live at Rez. That was absolutely like God, for real. So Rez. So now I knew about PsyCAD at university. That's why I mostly wanted to get into university. So I ended up getting into PsyCAD, and yeah, it was a virtual therapy thing. So PsyCAD is basically therapy, the free therapy that you get at universities. So after that, I went to PsyCAD from March all the way to November. So that's basically when I got into school, all the way to when school ended that year. And I kid you not, it was so horrible. It was so, so, so horrible, because now I had to talk about everything I've experienced, not just to anyone, but to literally to a psychologist, and only to find out that all the things that happened to me were not normal. And I was gaslighted a lot, and Like, she was even telling me that, listen, I could go to child court and all of these things. She was saying that, convince, she was trying to get me to convince my mom to, like, go to court and try have court help us out of the situation type of thing. But I knew that I don't think she would have been up for it because of her, like, biblical reasons. So I'm not even gonna try to tell her story for her because I don't think that's my place, but that's the most I can say. So I ended up just focusing on me. There was a lot of crying, there was a lot of reflecting, there was a lot of pain, child. When God said that we are healing, He said we are healing, okay? Like, we need to heal everything. And yeah, so at the end of that therapy, something actually, like, in November, on my last session, it was supposed to be my last session, but I told her something happened. And she was like, okay, let's extend it by like an extra 2 sessions. So something happened at home, and I ended up getting angry because my mom was supposed to leave her marriage, but she ended up not leaving because I forgot why. But it ended up making me so angry. But at the same time, because I had realized, like, because I had encountered therapy and God at the same time during that, like, process of healing, I ended up seeing that, listen, you know what, God, I'm surrendering all of this to you. Like, I don't want to have control over anything anymore. Like, I'm giving it to you. I don't care what happens in my parents' marriage at this point. I don't care. Like, I cannot tava as long as I'm there to protect my siblings. Everything else is just, it's in your hands. It's in your hands. And I kid you not, after that, boy, I was happy. I was so happy. And it's not because I don't care about my parents, but I think God was trying to teach me that I'm not supposed to have control over things in my own life. I was supposed to give those things to God to handle. And that's all He literally, like, the Bible says that all of you who are weary, give your burdens to me. My burden is easy and my yoke is light. And I did exactly that without even realizing it. I did exactly that, and things became so much better for me. I became so happy. I never encountered joy like that ever. Like, ever. Like, God gave me true joy. And yeah, I think that's what I can say. But I think one thing I really want to point out is that, um as much as this marriage, my parents' marriage, was very destructive and dysfunctional, what my mom did as a mother by giving me God was honestly the best thing. That thing literally saved my life. My mom's obedience to God saved my life. Like, it honestly saved my life. You know how Risang said, also Risang, I forgot her surname, Tandekis, I think so. Yeah. She was like, obedience is for me. Obedience really is for you, but don't ever underestimate how obedience can help the person next to you. My mom's obedience is the reason why I'm here. Her obedience to Christ and her obedience to always lean on God in situations is the reason why I can sit here and even tell you the story. So that's one thing I can say, that her obedience has never gone to vain. It has not gone to vain. God is honestly working and her trying. He really is working. But yeah, so now we're in 2021, last year. Wait, no, I'm lying. We're in 2022, last year. And obviously now I'm feeling joy that surpasses understanding, child. I'm living my life, I'm doing my own thing at uni. I'm happy, okay? So, God, I found a new church. Yes, my family and I found a new church. Something I had been praying about for a really long time. I wanted a new church and we finally found it. So, got to a new church. They have this thing called, I go to Acts Church. Try it out, guys. I promise you, if you're a new believer, go to Acts Church. Love that place. So what they do is they have courses. They have an E1, 2, and 3 course. So an E2 course is where you start healing. So you do healing with past trauma and all of these things. And that was the beginning of my journey. Well, I had forgiven my dad like a lot, but that's where I started having to like really forgive my dad for all the things that he's done. That was the point where I had to realize that forgiveness wasn't necessarily for him, but for me to be able to move on and live a life of peace. And I'll explain this at the end of the like video. But yeah, I had to do a lot of forgiving and forgiving my dad and all that he's done. Now forgiving was the easy part for me, but forgetting wasn't. Forgetting, it felt like you had to I could forgive him, but I couldn't forget. And I still struggle with that till today. Um but yeah, so I forgave my dad for everything that he's done. After that, I'm not gonna lie, I started growing onto my dad a little bit, just a little bit. But I've also just been holding myself back because I want to guard my heart. I don't want to end up going to that dark place that I used to be because I let my guard down when it came to my dad. So yeah, I ended up getting baptized. Now, like, I'm at a point where I'm like 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So I was a bit of a lukewarm Christian at this point. So I was craving God, but at the same time I was trying to look for identity in my friends and my relationship now. So now my relationship is like the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'd gotten back together with my man, well, my ex-boyfriend, but then it was my man. And now I'm trying to find things, trying to be more outgoing and but like drinking wasn't my thing, clubbing wasn't my thing, smoking wasn't my thing, and then I ended up feeling lost. But this time it didn't come with the anxiety and depression. Now it just came to a point where I felt lost in the world. I had no belonging. I didn't feel belonging to anything or anyone, and it's so crazy how it's easy to forget God when you are happy and you get the things that you prayed for. And that was me. As soon as I got that joy that I've been praying for, I ended up forgetting about God. So to me, I ended up paying attention to God in my struggles and not in my joyful moments. So sharp. Yeah. End of the year. End of the year. So this is November 2023. It is November 2023, and my boyfriend and I had just came back from like our anniversary celebration, and I'm in his bed, right? We're sleeping together. We're sleeping together, right? I'm asleep, but he's awake. And in my dream, we're in the exact same position except that I'm awake. So we're talking about something, but then in his room, the door's open and you can see into the kitchen, right? So I could sense that there's something there, but I couldn't see it. So I tell him, I'm like, no, man, I can sense that there's something in that space, but I don't know. And then he was like, no, throw something. So I throw something and it hits the air and falls. And I look at him, we look at each other, we're like, eh. So I decided to take something else and throw it again into the air, and we got attacked by a demon. And that was literally the first time I prayed in my dreams. I have never been able to pray in my dreams. That was the first time I prayed in my dreams. So, yeah, I think that was the first sign God was telling me that, listen, I'm calling you. I'm calling you, Karabo. Time to play is done. I'm calling you. But I ignored it. I brushed it off. I told my mom about it, but I brushed it off. So then the second thing that happened was my phone getting stolen. Now it's hard to ignore. Go to, hey man, there are bad things happening. Like, but I still hadn't really, really noticed what had been going on. So then now my phone is stolen, and now that just puts the identity crisis into So now I'm isolated from my friends. Now that I don't have a phone, I can't really go anywhere. My friends are doing their own thing that I feel weird being like I feel being weird at the club, drinking and doing all of these things, but that's what my friends do. So now we're hitting New Year's. Hey boy, now I asked my boyfriend, can I please come with you? Because I don't have any plans. I have no plans. They didn't work out, and it ended up making me feel abandoned both by my boyfriend and my friends. And yo, now that I think about it, that's crazy. I ended up going to church for New Year's. I ended up going to church for New Year's. I didn't even go with my parents. I just went with my siblings and my cousin. I forgot who. But yeah, I ended up going to church and it was literally such a beautiful experience. I even forgotten that I felt abandoned, eh? I forgot Shem. And it felt so amazing. I was like, that's what I'm gonna do New Year's from now on. That is exactly what I'm gonna start doing New Year's from now on. Okay? Okay? But yeah, after that, I went back to Riz. And when I went back to Riz, now I was alone. So there was no distractions from family. There was like a lot of time for me to think on my own, no phone. So I'm at Riz and I start getting this discerning feeling. And I don't mean just a light, I mean a deep discerning feel, like a deep discernment that I couldn't ignore. And I was like, no, man, it feels like something bad is about to happen. So I ignore it and I'm like, yo, I wonder what it is this time. Maybe my relationship is gonna end again. Hey, um, and it felt similar to the feeling I would get every time my relationship would end, but like I couldn't pinpoint what it was, and it happened 3 times, but not on the same day though. 3 times on like 3 different days, and my boyfriend and I started getting issues in our relationship, and then I had gotten to a point where I felt as though I don't see a need for me to be in this relationship anymore. You know, I've given it my all, and it's honestly not working out anymore. And I'll speak about the like my relationship and like on another video. I'm probably gonna make a video about relationships. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I'd gotten to a point where I felt like this relationship wasn't serving me anymore, and because now I felt the need and hunger to seek God, but I didn't even know it. I was that identity crisis was me trying to, it was hunger for God, but I didn't know that it was hunger for God, you know. So yeah, and then I ended up ending my relationship. I ended my relationship, and also another thing, I also ended it because I saw that my beliefs and my values weren't, they weren't going with the relationship anymore. You know, every time I asked him to go to church with me, he didn't want, you know, he didn't want to do certain things when it came to God. And I think that was my sign to say that, you know what, it's time to go. And then that's when I remembered that dream that I had in November where we were attacked by a demon. So what I didn't mention was that I started praying in that prayer, but he was screaming. And I think that was God trying to tell me, not necessarily because he's a bad person or he has his own relationship with God. I don't know where it's at, but he just has his own relationship with God. But in terms of me, I think God was trying to tell me that, listen, Karawa, you're in an unequally yoked relationship. And because now like, I was about to see that God was calling me to do something, or God was about to change my life for the better, you know, to be in his will. I think God was trying to tell me that, listen, if you're going to be fighting spiritual battles in this relationship, you're going to be fighting it alone. And yo, guys, like, it's so crazy how God was communicating with me. To think, when I look at that dream, guys, God was fully telling me that, listen, baby, if you continue with this relationship, but just know that you're going to come into your calling, and if you bring this relationship with, you are going to be fighting spiritual battles alone, because he's not ready for the place that I'm about to put you in. So I was like, yo, now that I think about it, I'm like, yo, that's crazy. So yeah, and then after that, again, if you don't know that bit of the story, go watch my previous video. I speak about how I ended up getting here. But yeah, I moved back home and I started seeking God. Um, and yeah, and now I've been so hungry for the Lord ever since. In terms of family, the problem has not been removed at all. But it's a lot more sound, it's a lot more calm. You know, there's no more storms or chaos or dysfunction in the household because my dad is away a lot of the times, but when he's away because he's trying to provide and work for the family. And I'm at a point where I've forgiven the past. I've moved on from the past. Yes, the effects of it are still there, but the past itself of what happened and what my dad did, I've moved past it. Um, yeah, now I'm at a point where I'm praying for his salvation. I'm praying that he receives God because now that I'm older, I can understand that, I had the privilege of experiencing affection and love and Jesus because of my mom, whereas my dad never experienced that growing up. He only knew what dysfunction is. So how he's raising me is better than how he was raised. So it's that thing where now I, as a child of God, have to love him, give him love. And if I'm going to give him love, I have to give him God because God is love. So praying for him while still guarding my heart is literally the best thing I can do. Just pray for him. Pray that he experiences love, true love. And honestly, God will handle the rest. Like I said, I gave all of that control to him. Um, I don't know where the story is going to end, but God will handle the rest. That's the point I'm at right now. So, yeah, man, that is my testimony. Wow, I didn't cry because I cried in the other videos. But yeah, so, oh, I almost cried, lol. But yeah, that is my testimony. I'm at a point where I literally don't want anything if it is not God. Like, okay, now I'm gonna cry. Like, I'm at a place where if anything isn't God, I don't want it. I don't want to ever be outside of the presence of God anymore because God has given me so much joy and happiness and peace. Even in trials and tribulations, child, I will still find joy. I'll still find the strength to praise Him and worship Him because He has been so, 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 so good to me. Like, I don't think this video even comprehends how good God has been to me. Yes, all of these things have happened, but people's failures shouldn't be the reason why I stop believing that God is real and God loves me so much. Like, nothing can ever convince me that God does not love me at this point. So yeah, like that's all I want. Friendships must be God-centered, Christ-centered. My relationships, they should be Christ-centered. What I do must be Christ-centered. Correct. Give me Jesus, child. Give me Jesus. So yeah, that's my testimony, guys. I hope that this helps someone out there. If you're in a similar situation as me, where you live in a dysfunctional household or did live in a dysfunctional household, I would urge you to just get on your knees and just ask God, cry out to God. He's always listening. He's honestly always listening, and He will answer you. Even if the answer doesn't look like what you wanted it to be, He will answer you, and it will be clear that it's from Him. I promise you. So just seek Him, ask for peace, ask for Him to give you a forgiving heart, because as soon as God renews your heart, it's like you just question, like, did I ever even have a resentful heart? Like, the new heart that God has given me just feels so surreal you know so I really hope that people really do experience this grace, this love, this peace, this joy. But yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave it for now. um I'll be posting a new video. I don't know when I'm gonna be posting it. I don't know if I should tell you guys. Actually, no, let me tell you guys. So my next video, I'll be doing a video on how to seek the kingdom. That's all I'm gonna do. That's all I'm gonna say. How to seek the kingdom. Um, but yeah, guys, that is it for today. Thank you for watching this video, this very, very long video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I love you guys. Stay blessed and go out and be the church. Bye.